Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Mojo of Audio. My name is Jacob Carruthers, otherwise known as 3, the Chemite, and we are going back over compression. We're actually taking a step back from the last video that we posted. So this is about the fundamentals of compression. I realized that the lesson that I had on before this was a little bit more advanced, so we're going back to the very beginning and we're going to walk through compression step by step. If you stay tuned, we'll be right back in the virtual studio. We are now back in the studio environment and we're going to talk about compression from the beginning. So this is all I really want to do, is get you familiar with the controls on a traditional compressor. I'm not using the one that I used in the previous video, which was an SSL. It had an SSL type workflow. We started with a 4:1 compression ratio. I'll explain that later. Here we're using a traditional compressor so that we can take a look at the average controls and how they work. In this particular instance, I'm going to start at a lower ratio setting, and we're going to talk about each one of these controls now. Threshold determines how loud the sound has to be in order for compression to kick in. And the reason why that's important is because if you could imagine a bunch of hills and valleys in a row, all standing together, right? We want to make the tops of the peaks, which are the loudest notes, closer to the softest volume, which is the valley. Now, we don't want to move the valley, the floor of the valley, up to the peak. We want to squeeze the peaks down closer to the valley, not to the valley, but closer to the valley. And that way we retain the dynamic range of the song, but we get control of the vocals so that you can hear everything. Now, if you do too much compression with the threshold or any other part of the compressor, then you get breathing artifacts and you start hearing stuff in the mix, and that's when you have to go in and do the long, arduous process of taking out all of the breaths in the song. But you can avoid this by using good compression techniques, all right? And so normally I will always tell you, listen to your sound, don't look at your sound. But we're going to use visual cues to confirm what we think our ears are hearing. And so the meters on here are what to pay attention to. This meter here, you will see the needle move down because as the sound goes up, the meter will start to push it down automatically, way faster than you could ride a fader as a human. So pay attention to that. And then let's take a look at the ratio. The ratio determines how much the sound is being pushed down when it hears it. So in this case, if we have it all the way down at 1:1, we don't have any compression. Even if the VU meter goes over 0, and 0 dB is what we're looking at. By the way, let me just backtrack. This right here is 0 dB. Is that 0? No, there it is right there. That's 0 dB. And you don't really want to start pushing a lot of material past 0 dB to the point where it ultimately clips. When it clips, usually what you'll see, not all the time, but usually what you'll see is the red lights stay on at the top and just stay there. When that happens, clipping has occurred. Whether you audibly hear it or whether you don't audibly hear it, technically there is clipping occurring. Now, when you clip something, we explained this in the last video, you are cutting off the tops of the peaks. And when you do that, you add a little bit of extra distortion to whatever it is that you're doing. So we don't want to jump in that area. And so I want to keep the vocals not more than 0 dB in this case. This is a test case. It's not a real world case. You will find that if I get the vocal at 0, then the music is always going to bump it louder than 0. You can't have everything. Everything needs to be going about 10 or so, 10 dB, minus 10 dB below 0. 0 is unity gain. I want you to remember that term, unity gain. Unity gain means that you're getting the volume out that you actually put in, and it's not greater than that. Now, that's a whole conversation in and of itself, which I'm not going to go into right now, but right now we're just trying to get a vocal under control. I hope you understand ratio. I kind of jump around a little bit because there are a lot of things to go over, but ratio, remember, it determines how much compression that you're putting to the sound. Between threshold and ratio, you ought to be able to find the correct amount of compression. Adding too much compression is always going to be a problem. Attack determines at what point the compression comes in after it hears the sound at a certain decibel range. If it's minus 10 dB, then if you have a slow compression range, this is default right here, and it's straight up, then all the dynamics of whatever the sound source is going to come through before the compression kicks in and pushes it down. The normal example that I might give for ratio and how it works is maybe on a kick drum or a snare drum. You want that snap to come in, that pop to come in untouched. The power of a kick drum or the power of a snare drum, you may want that to come through and then push the sound down. Now that's an awful fast transient, and that's where release comes in. Release determines at what point the compression gets up off the sound after it stops. So you can put compression on and the sound actually stretches out a little longer, all depending on the room and the reverb and so on and so forth. Or you can have it immediately cut off as soon as it doesn't hear the sound anymore. So if you have a fast release, let me show you. A fast release is going to determine that your drum sound is going to be punchy and very lively. And a slower compression rate is going to make everything sound kind of, I don't know, glued together. It's all going to sound like one piece. You know, when you're listening to sound and all the music just sounds like it all is glued together, a lot of that has to do with your release rate. And over here, the last thing we're going to look at is the gain knob. Most compressors have a gain knob, not all of them, but most of them have a gain knob. And what happens is a lot of times when you apply compression, you are basically lowering the loudest parts of the song. So that may be too soft and you just need a little extra gain in order to make it fit. In my case, vocal, sit in the mix where you can hear it. You might want to do that. So there's the gain knob there. Right now, we're going to work with this vocal, and I'm going to play around with the threshold and the ratio to see if I can get it in control. And one thing here, there you go. I need you to see that because we want to look at this LED and we want to look at this VU meter while we're getting the sound under control. The sound is actually on loop. So here we go.
It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, cause it's going down.
Nah, that's
It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, cause it's going down. It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, cause it's going down. It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, 'cause it's going down. It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, 'cause it's going down. It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees.
If you notice, I wound up right at 0. And so I want you to take a look at this. I wound up using, and every compressor is different, but my threshold was 24 dB. My compression was 1 to 98. And I did not move the attack or the release. Now, that means that the attack of my vocal came in untouched. And then the back end of the note, then it got compressed. So ultimately, that's what you hear. I don't know how happy I am with that. Let's play that one more time.
It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, 'cause it's going down.
Actually, that's not too bad. But what I'd like to do, I'd like to see if I can use a little extra compression. I haven't done this on this song before, so you're actually seeing me mess around with this song. I'm going to play with the attack and the threshold, maybe the ratio, in order to see if I can get less compression on it. Here we go.
It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, 'cause it's going down. It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, 'cause it's going down. It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, 'cause it's going down. It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, 'cause it's going down. It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, 'cause it's going down. It's gonna be a mess. You're the enemy. Make you fall into your knees. Call a referee, 'cause it's going down.
Okay, so I've got everything under control, and I want you to keep in mind that you don't want to use a lot of, you want to use just the right amount of compression. And if you start from the beginning and just roll the compressor in, no matter what compressor it is, you just roll the compressor in, you'll get that vocal under control. So once again, threshold, ratio, attack, release, and gain are usually your primary controls that are going to help you get this sound under control. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them here, and I will do my best to answer them. If the question is deep enough, I should say, I may do a video on it. Whatever the case is, I hope you do great mixes. I hope you've learned something today, and you have been in the mojo of audio.